elected as the new Moiben Member of Parliament, beating the outgoing Member of Parliament, Tivren. Those results coming to you courtesy of our reporters in Eldoret. Will definitely still be staying around Wasin in Gishu County. But I want just to wind up this presentation of the county of Nairobi because as I mentioned earlier, we are comparing all these years, but away from the specific area of Nairobi, I like to pick one of the areas that has been said to be Raila Odinga's stronghold once again. That's the lower Mount Kenya region or the lower eastern region, and that area has so far turned blue. I just want to go into one or two of them, and let me take Machakos for the purpose of our presentation tonight. Machakos County, Alfred Mutua, governor, outgoing governor, and obviously Machakos County has several constituencies. One, Masinga, Yatta, Mwala, Kagundo, Matungu, Mavoko, and Machakos Town. A total of 7 constituencies. Now, so far, this is how this map looks. All this, the lower side of Machakos has turned blue. Now, this does not necessarily mean that they could not turn yellow in favor of Deputy President and Kenya Kwanza presidential candidate William Ruto. Raila Odinga has so far garnered 188,000 votes, 448. And the number of registered voters in Machakos County is 687,565. We still have Masinga and Yatta remaining. They have not, the results are not in, but once they are in, probably Raila Odinga will rise, or William Ruto, who has 61, who has to play a lot of catch-up of 100,000 votes so far, 24% and 74. Raila Odinga almost tripling in the number of in terms of percentage, or even in terms of vote. So he has to play catch-up there. So regardless of how it goes, if Masinga and Yatta turns blue, William Ruto will definitely be losing Machakos County, which has 687,565,000 votes. But in our comparison, let's take a look at this same county in 2017. How did it perform and who did they vote for? They say this is Raila Odinga's stronghold. Well, this is it. Numbers don't lie. Masinga and Yatta went blue. So let me take you a step further and look at 2013. What happened in Machakos County? Still, it went orange to the advantage of Raila Odinga. He garnered a total of 319,000 against 464,000. Uhuru Kenyatta, 35,660. Now, based on this alone, we could say that in 2017, Raila Odinga won it, which is factual now. And in 2020, it looks most likely. However, don't forget a fact that in 2017, Untitled Chapter governor was in sort of supporting Jubilee Party at that point, and right now he's supporting William Ruto. Could Alfred Mutua succeed to bring Masinga and Yatta and reduce part of the polling stations here which have not declared results so far? Well, your guess is as good as mine, but our projection is this tonight. If 2017 is anything to go by, having been taken by Raila Odinga as a NASA presidential candidate, and in 2013 Raila Odinga once again got the whole of Machakos with 319 being the co-presidential candidate, then we could safely say that unless Alfred Mutua delivers to William Ruto in the Machakos County, if all these 2 counties, and including this, turn blue like they did in 2017 or like they did in 2013, then it's safe to say that Raila Odinga could still get all the votes from Machakos County. And just one more before I end, because the coast region also has been said to be a stronghold of Raila Odinga. So I just like to pick one, and randomly, which one do I pick? Let me pick Lamu, for example, and see how Lamu voted in 2017 and in 2013, and then compare it with the voting in 2022. Now, so far, Lamu County has a total of 81,453 registered voters, just about 19,000 less to get to the 100,000 mark. Valid so far is 14,000 votes. Now, how is the division of the 14,000? Raila Odinga is ahead with 65.14%, while William Ruto is trailing at 4,609. and that's 31.39% of the total votes, which is 14,682. Now, only Lamu East has declared results. Let's get into Lamu East and see. They have Basuba and Kiunga, and all this plus Kaza here. All these areas have turned blue. So definitely, if we go back to Lamu, I'll just go back to Lamu again briefly and see what happened in Lamu. So let me go back to Lamu and do that comparison again. So Lamu East, Lamu West, 14,000. Get those figures in your mind and try and see with the votes that we have so far, how is it looking in comparison? Because there are only two constituencies in Lamu. How is it looking? Let's look at 2017. How did 2017 turn out for Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta? Well, it was divided in half. Lamu East was taken by NASA, Raila Odinga, while Uhuru Kenyatta Jubilee Party took Lamu West with 24,225, 48%. This was basically divided into two. So 24,225 and 24,423. This is a small margin there. It's a very, very small margin there. But Raila Odinga took. So Lamu East and Lamu West voted for both of them almost in equal measure. What about 2013? Was it divided? Because this will help with the projection. Same thing in 2013. Lamu East still went to Raila Odinga. Now, based on this and the fact that in 2022 we see the same trend. Look at Lamu East already voting for Raila Odinga at 9,000 and 4,000 for William Ruto, 14,000 up. So we look at Lamu West. It's also safe to say here that it's likely that these two places will be shared equally, right? So Lamu East may go to Raila Odinga, and Lamu West may go to William Ruto. I mean, Lamu East already looks like it's gone to Raila Odinga. Lamu West may go to William Samoei Ruto, depending on what we are seeing in 2017. Remember, William Ruto was in Jubilee Party, and in 2013, remember, he was in URP. So based on this alone, we may safely say tonight that unless some very good work was done in this county of Lamu East and Lamu West, it's bound to remain the same. Like, it's divided into two. Lamu West traditional down there, and 2022 it's already looking like that. So this is basically an example of the kind of vote that we're having tonight. Let me take you over now to, I think, my colleague Eric Latif is on the other side also with an analysis of what's happening, because the numbers continue to come. And in fact, Eric, I've just noticed, if you've noticed our screen tonight, we have crossed the 8 million mark. We are at 8,159,516. Essentially, we have crossed the half threshold in this election. If at all what the IBC said remains factual, then we have crossed the half mark. So William Ruto still at the top, 4,058,000, and Raila Odinga just trailing with about 10,000. How much is that? 10,000, right? All right, that's how it looks. 49.74 and 49.63, very close, neck to neck, head to head. We're still here until the cows come home, and in this case, the votes come home. Over to you, Eric Latif.
Well, thank you very much, Ken. And yes, I think you need to have something about your math and just simple arithmetic, but don't worry. I mean, this will happen. We are looking at the numbers. 8,159,160 is what the standard group has been able to count so far and put together. We know we are all relying on the forms 34A that have come out from across the 46,200 and how many, 29 polling stations across the country. From the IEBC, we know 99.47% have already been reported. That is 45,982 forms 34A out of the possible 46,229. So from that, we go into the portal and we pick the forms 34A. And we've got people who are doing that, and then they are putting it on a table, and then we start now tabulating and tallying. And that's how we have arrived at the 8 million mark, and then looking at the distribution of those 8 million votes across the 4 presidential candidates. And that's what we have on the screen. Of course, we still have very many more to go. And that's why we're saying it's a process. It takes this long. We're asking ourselves, should we really be going this, taking this long to do this? The good thing is, it's no longer just one person telling us. It's all of us just being able to access this. Everybody is able to get into the portal.iebc.or.ke, get the forms, download the forms, and do the tabulation. However, I want to take the conversation to what we're also seeing at the constituency level. Just like we've seen there, we have a new MP for Moiben, Professor Philip Barto. We have new people who have been declared as winners at the constituency level. Did your competitor get declared by the returning officer in Diwa?
Yes, he was declared by the returning officer in Diwa. And we congratulate everybody that today was elected and were given an authority by the returning officers to be members of parliament, senate. I haven't seen anybody for governor yet.
Not yet. I think we have not yet now gone into the constituency tallying center, where woman rep, senator, and governor is
being declared.
I had some little bit of reservation on some of the campaigns that I saw. There was, and especially in places like Diwa, where I came from, there was a great presence of violence and intimidation, a great presence of goons hired to beat candidates that are not perceived to be in a particular party. A huge presence of influence of the POs, and 5 of them were arrested for that reason, and they were taken to the police station, and the returning officer had to fire them. And when I look at democracy, and I'm seeing that the people sometimes that are given the mandate and the responsibility to officiate the electoral processes, getting engaged into self-interest by being induced to look the other way so that the democracy is defeated. That annoys me. And to that extent, we're going to have a lot of people that are elected in our constituencies, in our counties, that are not necessarily going to be men of authority, integrity, men that befits Chapter 6, leadership and integrity, men that perhaps will be able to articulately answer and represent them in those houses, simply because they either came with money, or they came by coercion, or they were thrown in there by the parties, or they somehow meddled and interfered and got rigged, like Javas was saying, in a certain way to be there. I'm not saying that everybody that is coming to Parliament has gone through this, but what I saw is a huge infiltration and penetration of external influence within the process, to a point where you will hardly even want to congratulate a leader to that extent, because you know what has happened at the background. I mean, to a point where like my vehicles were literally stoned yesterday, in a polling station. I mean, because they want you out of that place. And Javas was saying something that I saw yesterday. We were saying that actually the idea of carrying ballot boxes from the polling station to the tallying center is a gone story. No, yesterday we intercepted ballot papers that were already being removed by the cops from the tallying center of Mirogi from the polling center to the tallying center. And we had to call the returning officer and said, no, this is against the law.
Was this before the counting took place?
Before even the counting is done.
It's supposed to be counted.
No. That is what is supposed to be done. But I'm telling you what happened yesterday, that there was some violence, and therefore it was ordered that and remember, the presence of the returning officer is not there.
Let's go through this now sequentially, what you witnessed, okay? So polls have opened, people have voted, 5 p.m. or whatever number of minutes
before 5
extended.
p.m.
Polls closed. What happened after polls closed?
So this is what happens. Polls opens and people have come to vote in Akala polling center. People come to vote. It has about 3 streams for that reason, or polling stations for that reason. And then at around 4 something, the youths come and they want to interfere with the electoral process. They're saying it seems to be some interference here. This election cannot continue, and blah 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 for that reason. And so as a result, the PO says, oh, there seems to be some tension here, and for that reason, let's stop the voting. So the voting is stopped before 5 o'clock, for your information. And after that, the PO decides to call the police, and they decide that because it's becoming a little bit volatile, they cannot continue with the process of voting. For your information, people on the line, they've already closed the polling station before 5 o'clock, and they have now loaded staff into a police vehicle. The ballot papers, the POs, and the clerks into the police vehicle. So I come in and we block these guys at the gate. They're already out of the gate of the polling center. And so I asked, where are you taking the ballot boxes? And one of the police officers, the senior police officer, says, well, the PO said that this is a volatile area and therefore we want to transport these things into the tallying center. And I said, that's against the law. Where is that RO so that the RO can officially give that mandate? And that mandate is by law. The GPI shows that this is where this thing will be transmitted, not at the tallying center. And for that reason, I said, let's call the RO here. So the RO comes. And then he calls the candidates, one of us, all of us, and the senior cops there. And then we refused that this thing cannot leave the tallying center. Because we knew that what that was going to influence is, as soon as we will allow the ballot boxes into the tallying center, the entire constituency was going to do the same thing. And then you'll know what will happen. They will be intercepted and the ballot boxes will be kicked and stuff like that, which we've seen before. Let me tell you, Javas, these staff were returned at the polling station. The counting took place and I was there until the end. Nobody interfered with the counting. So you can see that the laws are there, but there are still people who want to circumvent the law and the process in itself, in its entirety. And I told that cop that it is not the responsibility of the cop to order any paper out of any polling station, because the polling station is controlled by the returning officer and the PO and not the police officer. They're only supposed to provide.
It is very disturbing to hear your encounters.
It's distressing.
Yeah, very, very disturbing. Now, look, members of the National Assembly, let me say Parliament, including the Senator, once you voted and successfully get to be an MP, one of your responsibilities or duties is oversight. Now, oversight cannot be properly exercised unless you're of high integrity, at least presumably so. So if at all the process of getting you into that office was flawed, was with less integrity, do we expect you to be a member of Parliament with high integrity? We don't.
No.
You get? So already you are rigged to lose.
It's giving me a headache because it's thinking about
It happened yesterday.
And so some of the challenges
And
we
then
face.
they stole our vehicles right there.
Yeah. So some of the challenges we face, one, it is heightened graft that it has now been naturalized. Corruption in Kenya is something that is nearly natural amongst very many people. That they take it as a way of life. It's now a culture. The other thing is this. For example, even the issue of technology, why even these physical forms have to be taken in Nairobi, is because of the lack of trust issues, like we said earlier, the issue of the possibility of somebody having been bought, all right, who is an election officer, perhaps. So integrity is an issue. But the moment we sort out integrity issues and then enrich the flesh of trust and confidence and have a new tradition. Like, for example, one thing that I'm excited about is what is emerging where some candidates are quickly, freely, easily conceding. This is a tradition that we need to build, such that if you see that actually from a process that you've seen and witnessed has been free, fair, and open, then why should you fight? Just concede.
Concede, accept, move on, shake the hand of the winner.
At all levels, even at the presidential level. In fact, in this country, it's only in 2002 where the main challenge of Mwai Kibaki, Uhuru Kenyatta, as he then was, KANU candidate, conceded.
Yep.
From that time, we have never seen any other candidate conceding. We need to have this culture where even a presidential candidate concedes, having seen that the election was free, was fair and transparent and actually accountable. You don't have to fight all the way to the courts. The Supreme Court.
Whereas I agree with that, but it's a process. We are in a place where we don't want to concede. We don't want to resign, even though we know we're on the wrong. We still don't want to resign, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the question is, until we look at Chapter 6, leadership and integrity, in its definition, that if you are caught with your hands in the cookie, you need to step aside and allow investigation to take place. Not for you to be, to be found guilty in a court of law. Even if you go into the court of law, you still want to hold in that very office. What I'm saying, until people are arrested for electoral malpractice, bribery, until people are arrested and go to jail for interfering with the electoral process, whether you are an official of IBC and you go to jail and it is public,
But the
then we will be able to have that
the
kind of
problem in this
discussion.
country is that nearly all politicians have got bad manners.
No, not all of them.
I said
Not all
nearly.
of them. Not
No, I
all
said
of them.
nearly.
Yeah.
I said nearly all politicians have got very bad manners.
The
in this
point
country.
is, we've got to send the message, and that's
Yeah.
what I hear you,
Yeah,
Michael,
yeah,
saying.
that's
And
what-
we've
that's
got
what-
to get to a point where, like the incident that you say you witnessed this happen yesterday, it should get reported with the relevant authorities, with the IEBC, with the police, and action taken. And investigations, for
The
example,
policemen were
investigations
stoned
begin.
themselves in that very place.
No, but now-
but
the-
did you- but
did you
in
take
Kenya,
action?
what we have,
Joy.
Which
in
action?
Kenya,
And
what
you
we
have a
have is
policeman
actually
there.
a deficit of character. We are people who don't even want to call it bad manners. We have a wrong culture, and our culture has led us into a space where there are some things we have chosen to say it is do or die. So, for example, with our elections, we have chosen to elevate our elections to a level where we're willing to pay anything
Yes.
for us to have these elections. So people tampered with the ballot papers, let's make more expensive ballot papers. People tampered with the ballot boxes, let's make them transparent and color-coded. People have done what? And we've gotten ourselves into this space where the electoral process is, pardon my French, it's a load of nonsense, at least not the watershed hours, so I can go ahead and speak a little French. It's a load of nonsense. Why is our ballot paper more expensive than our currency? Why is it that we can't even print it in Kenya? We have to print it outside. Why is it that people spend so much money on elections and they do not want to enact a campaign financing act that would cap how much you spend on an election? Why is it that the electorate look at the election period as a season to take back what is theirs from their politicians? Why is it that the politicians are also willing to spend so much money on elections? Why is it that we are satisfied with simply elevating the game to higher and higher levels, to a level that we are actually disenfranchising more and more Kenyans from actively participating in politics? Right now, if you don't have a pretty penny, a little war chest, you cannot be a participant in the electoral process because it's just way too expensive. Look at the election that happened yesterday. Media houses here, we're running our numbers. The political parties are all boasting they have tally centers. But let's just make this practical right now, okay, fine? So we've got 46,223 polling stations. Let's decide, by the way, you have 2 agents that you're paying in each of them. So you're looking at a workforce of almost over 92,000 people.
Yep.
If you're giving them, forget even about something that is reasonable. Let's just cap it at 5,000 shillings per person. What you're paying your agents alone, you've not catered for their meals, transport, accommodation, or anything. Just what you're paying them. Who has that kind of money? Which political party? We have gone ahead and decided, you know what, politics is so expensive, let's give the money from the exchequer. That money, by the way, is not adequately audited by the Auditor General. We need, as a country, to come to a place where we deconstruct our politics. Our politics makes no sense. It's absolutely ridiculous. Our politicians get away with rape, murder, and manslaughter. Right now, if I am convicted of a crime, that conviction stands until a court of equal or higher jurisdiction overturns what has happened. Now, in Kenya, we have this special class of politicians who get to have a conviction, but until they have exhausted all the available means of appeal, they are quite fine
live their life.
they're able to function normally.
Yeah.
We were having a discussion yesterday about something that is live, and we're talking about what are the consequences that Didmas Baraza faces. In this entire melee, having been accused of an election offense in the apparent face of it, IBC went ahead to declare results in his constituency. They didn't cancel it, they went ahead and declared. Now it's become an election offense that must be taken to court for it to be overturned. You will say what happened. We've seen it with Aisha Jumwa, we've seen it with Babu Uwino, we've seen it with others. We need to come to a place where we knock down our politicians down a notch.
It's a conversation
You know,
that needs to happen. I want us to take a break first of all and just go look at what's happening at our press. The Standard is hot off the press. It's coming out of the press right now. Lebancliff and Seri is standing by to show us what are the headlines that we should be expecting as we buy the paper in the morning. Lebancliff.
Thank you very much, Eric Latif. Coming to you right just outside the Summit Studio, and of course,